All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The New York Yankees woke up yesterday in unfamiliar territories for the first time since 1995. This is the latest in the Major League Baseball season that they find themselves with a losing record. The Yankees have not finished the season with a losing record since 1992, while they're also on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time since 2016. And this could be basically be uncharted water in the Bronx, as the Yanks still currently have the longest active streak in Major League Baseball without a losing record. Would this be the thing that would force their team owner, Hal Steinbrenner, to make wholesale changes in his front office that are long overdue? Manager Aaron Boone is probably going to be out of town on the first thing smoking because he's going to be the fall guy for this season for the Yankees. But would Steinbrenner do the unthinkable and move on from longtime general manager Brian Cashman? And if Steinbrenner were to move on from Brian Cashman, would he bring back a franchise treasure to run things? For 20 years, Derek Jeter was the face of the Yankees. The former captain was one of the best shortstops in baseball while also helping the Yankees win 5 World Series championships. And he'll go down as one of the greatest players, especially in October, as far as the greatest players in the history of this illustrious franchise. Now, from 2017 to 2022, Jeter had a minority stake, in the Miami Marlins. And during that time, he was also the team's CEO. During that time, Jeter attempted to turn around the fortunes of the Marlins as he started to rebuild this team from the bottom. The results were not immediately seen on the field as the Marlins finished in fourth place or worse in the National League East in 4 of the 5 full years that Jeter was running things in Miami. They in the shortened 2020 season, the Marlins were able to break through and make the playoffs that year. Now, some may want to give Jeter some of the credit for the Marlins turnaround right now because they do currently have a winning record. And you think about a lot of that young talent that Jeter brought along. I think the folks in Miami are starting to see the fruits of that labor now, if you will. And because of that, the Marlins find themselves currently in the mix to make the postseason for the first time since 2020. But of course, this is just speculation. Okay, again, but it's one of those where it's worth, throwing out there. First and foremost, would Jeter be interested in making a return to an MLB front office? And the other big question is, aside from would Steinbrenner be willing to move on from Brian Cashman, would Steinbrenner be willing to give Jeter the keys to his franchise? These are all questions, like the what ifs, if you will. And I'll say it like this: in Miami, when Jeter was with the Marlins, he attempted to install the Yankee way there. And, for the most part, obviously the results on the field, the wins and losses for the Marlins, they weren't there. But I don't think that it was all in vain. And obviously, the Yankee way is going to work in the Bronx because, this is all Jeter knows. And I'm not saying that as a slight because obviously, Jeter was drafted by the Yankees. He was brought up within their system. Okay. And this is all that he knew. But guess what? That Yankee way worked. Okay. Because aside from winning the 5 World Series championships, the World Series MVP, All Star MVP, Hall of Famer, you name it, when Jeter was a shortstop for the Yankees, and obviously it wasn't just Derek Jeter, like those teams are talented, the Yankees were a perennial championship team every single year. Now, I will say this: the media and the fans in New York City would welcome Jeter with open arms because the man is an icon there. Okay. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. When you win a sports championship in New York City, and this is no disrespect to anybody else, any city, state, whatever, it's a little bit different. Okay. You're really looked at as an icon, regardless of the sport. And Jeter not only did that, he did it 5 times, and he was also a great player. So, he's a guy, he's charismatic, he knew how to handle the media during his time. And obviously, for the sake of argument, you know, people would approach him, with the kid gloves at first because let's just say that Steinbrenner did this. You have a scenario where the Yankees right now, they're looking like they are not a quick fix. You're talking about a Yankee team that has lost their last six. They got embarrassed tonight, at home, courtesy of the Boston Red Sox, and that was fresh off of the heels of getting swept by the Atlanta Braves. I mean, the thing was, it was 4-0 in the first inning in favor of Boston tonight before you even blinked, and they ended up losing the contest 8-3. So now you're talking about a Yankees team. They're 14 and a half back as we speak. They've lost their last six. And I'm saying 14 and a half back of Baltimore. They're in last place in the AL East. They're not catching Baltimore. And honestly, at this pace, they might end up in the basement because Boston is playing better, and Boston has now put some distance between themselves and the Yankees. And Boston is right there in the mix for the wild card, the last wild card spot. I mean, right now, Seattle and Toronto are tied for the final wild card as we speak. Boston's 2.5 games back. The Yankees are currently tied with the Angels. Both of them have a 60 and 62 record. The Angels rather, are playing right now on the West Coast, and they're leading Tampa Bay. So if that score holds up, you're then talking about the Angels having now leapfrogged the Yankees in the standings for the final wild card. And don't look now, but the Yankees could soon fall behind the Cleveland Guardians. So at this point, you know what? The wheels have fallen off of this team. But with Jeter, the fans would welcome him with an open arms. The media would as well, and they'd give him an opportunity to turn things around. And Jeter, just for the sake of argument, would not be coming into this situation blind because he has seasoning under his belt from running things with the Marlins. Obviously, some things worked, some things didn't. But on top of that, he knows what it takes to win in New York. Also, more importantly, he knows what it takes to win with the Yankees. He knows what it means to be a Yankee because he understands the history. He understands the legacy. He understands the lineage because he is a part of that. He's woven into that fabric for everything that he's done with that franchise. But regardless of how the rest of the season works out in the Bronx, and regardless of what happens going forward for the Yankees, and I know some people are probably going to get tired of me saying this, some people definitely agree with me on this. The Yankees are in need of wholesale changes. I've said it for the longest time. Brian Cashman's too comfortable running things. The Yankees need a new voice. They need a new direction. Maybe, just maybe, Derek Jeter could be that guy. Now, obviously, a lot of things would have to break for something like that to happen. Would Hal Steinbrenner just sit back and admit that, you know what, he made a mistake bringing Cashman back, and would he be willing to pay him what he still owes him on his deal? Because remember, Cashman and Boone both just got new deals after last season. Like I said, Boone's gone. Boone's, on borrowed time right now. He's going to be the scapegoat. But with that said, would Steinbrenner want to make the move that is long overdue and move on from Brian Cashman? That is the $1 million question right there. But again, the Yankees need so many changes. It has to start at the minor league level because you look at the way that they're hitting right now, and they're not. You look at the way that they're pitching right now, and honestly, if you're not named Garrett Cole and you're taking the mound for the Yankees, whether you're coming out of the bullpen or you're in the rotation, honestly, you could have him. Garrett Cole is basically the only guy that is keeping the Yankees pitching staff afloat. This team is not hitting. They need to get back to basics. They need to get back to fundamentals in every aspect of the game: fielding, hitting, pitching, defense, you name it. Okay. So it's a scenario where, hey, a guy like Jeter, you know, for all of his flash, for all of his celebrity, for all of the pretty boy stuff that that has been attached to him, Jeter was a hard worker as a player. Jeter also instilled that, or attempted to instill that in the Marlins, and I guarantee you, Jeter is going to would attempt to instill that. And now I'm not even going to say would attempt; he will or would instill that if the scenario came down that he would be running the Yankees. So, like, all of these are just things to think about. But at the end of the day, will Steinbrenner make the necessary changes in the Bronx? I'll tell you like this. If the Yankees season continues to get away from them the way that it is right now, Hal Steinbrenner might not have a choice because I'll tell you like this. You have a Yankees fan base that for the most part is disgusted right now because again, the championship expectations for this team year in and year out. I'll say this, and I'm not trying to take anything away. The Yankees, they won those four World Series championships in a 5-year stretch from 1996 to 2000. What the Yankees did was and is not easy, and it should be respected because let's face it, since 2000, we have not had a repeat World Series champion. I think the closest team that came to repeating over that stretch, the 2001 Yankees, and then the 2009 Phillies, who lost to the Yankees. So, with that said, it wasn't easy. But with that said, you have a fan base that is expecting that. And of course, the further that we get away from 2009, which was the Yankees' last championship, is the further that we get away from that championship and the more that, people want to see the Yankees get back to that level. We've seen the Yankees get to the ALCS several times. They lost to Texas once. They lost to Detroit once. We saw them get there a couple of times and lose to the Astros. And again, I thought it was very telling and it raised a lot of eyebrows, not just mine, but a lot of people that Brian Cashman stayed dormant at the trade deadline while all the other teams that were in contention went out there and got better. The Angels, who had didn't have a better record than the Yankees at the time of the trade deadline, went out there and made moves. And of course, I know that the Angels have gotten a lot of flack for that, but still, they went out there and tried to do something. The Yankees did absolutely nothing. So, with that said, I think missing the playoffs, but then I also think if the Yankees were to finish this season with a losing record, that might force the hand of Hal Steinbrenner to do something because it's not just the fans, it's the media. The media in New York City, they're going to have a field day with that. And you look at this Yankees team right now, they're 60 and 62 after tonight's loss. They've got their ace Garrett Cole going on the mound tomorrow afternoon against the Boston Red Sox against Crawford. Then you got Clark Schmidt in the series finale on Sunday. So hopefully, if you're the Yankees, you can get back on track. Your ace is out there; he's a stopper, and hopefully, if you're the Yankees, you can try to win these next two, win a series, and then also get back to 500. And that's going to be important because the Yankees, and I've talked about this the other day. The Yankees welcome the Washington Nationals to town for a 3-game set this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The Nationals are playing some solid baseball right now. This is the time of the year where these youngsters are playing for jobs. And a lot of the youngsters that the Nationals have gone with in their recent youth movement, they're starting to get their sea legs, if you will. So that's a series right there that is not going to be easy for the Yankees. They're then in Tampa next weekend for 3 with the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Rays over the last several years have just simply had the Yankees number. After a 4-game set in Detroit with the Tigers, the Yankees are on to Houston for 3 games with the Astros. And then they come back and host the Tigers at home in a 3-game set before they host the Milwaukee Brewers. But then after that, a 4-game set and Fenway with the Red Sox. They've still got a couple of series with the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's possible that not only do the Yankees miss the playoffs, they're going to finish with a losing record. And let me just rephrase that last part. The Yankees are not making the playoffs this year. I'm sorry, it's not happening. And at the rate that they're going right now, we might be talking about this team with a losing record. But again, like I said, that might be the best case scenario for the Yankees because then it might force the hand of Hal Steinbrenner to do something drastic to get this team back on track. I'll tell you like this. I think if Steinbrenner were willing to move on from Brian Cashman, I think Derek Jeter would be the right guy. Now, obviously, Derek Jeter would want the job, would need to want the job, but if you're Hal Steinbrenner, it's definitely at least worth a phone call. The Yankees are a rudderless ship right now. The Yankees need a new voice. The Yankees need a new leader. The Yankees need to change the tone because this is something I'm not going to say it's unprecedented, but this is uncharted water for a lot of their fans. It's uncharted water for a lot of people affiliated with this team. They don't remember what they were in the late 1980s. They don't remember all the hard work that the likes of Gene Michael instilled to get things turned around. And then, of course, the greatness that came after that. The Yankees need a new voice. The Yankees need a change. And if Hal Steinbrenner doesn't make those changes, I hate to say it, but you know what? Maybe some darker days are on the horizon for one of not just Major League Baseball's iconic franchises, but one of the most iconic franchises in all of sports. The Yankees just need changes, plain and simple. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.